As the bus doors hissed shut behind him, Alex realized something was wrong. There was no driver, and the only other passenger turned to him with wide, fearful eyes. Last time, I got stuck here too. The 3 a.m. bus. The city was unnervingly quiet at 3 a.m. Streetlights buzzed dimly, casting weak yellow halos on the empty pavement. Alex, a university student, tightened his jacket around him as he hurried to the bus stop. He had stayed late at the library, studying for his midterms, and had lost track of time. The bus stop was deserted, save for an old advertisement peeling off the glass shelter. A gust of wind sent a shiver down his spine. He glanced at his phone. 3:01 a.m. The bus was late. Then, out of nowhere, he heard it. The deep rumble of an approaching vehicle. Headlights pierced the darkness as a bus rolled toward him, screeching to a halt. The doors hissed open. Something felt off. Alex hesitated. The bus looked old, almost antique. Its paint faded and chipped. He couldn't see a driver through the windshield. The interior lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the empty seats. But what choice did he have? Stepping inside, he noticed the silence. The usual low hum of the engine and the soft murmur of late-night passengers were absent. The doors shut behind him with a heavy clang, making him jump. Only one other person was on the bus, a man sitting in the back, hunched over, his face obscured by the hood of his tattered jacket. Alex moved toward the middle, gripping a cold metal pole as he scanned the driver's seat. It was empty. No one was behind the wheel. His breath caught in his throat. The bus jerked forward, moving on its own. Alex swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay calm. Maybe the driver had stepped away for a second. Maybe this was some new automated system. As the bus rolled through the empty streets, the flickering lights above buzzed softly. The silence was suffocating. Then, the hooded passenger shifted, turning, his head slightly toward Alex. "I see you're new here," the man whispered. Alex stiffened. "Sorry." The man slowly lifted his head, revealing tired, sunken eyes. His voice was barely audible over the hum of the wheels. "Last time I got stuck here too." A chill crawled up Alex's spine. "What do you mean?" "Stuck?" he asked, his voice trembling. The man gave a hollow, humorless chuckle. "You'll see." The bus took a sudden turn, and outside, the scenery had changed. The familiar streets were gone. Instead, thick fog pressed against the windows, swallowing everything beyond the dim glow of the headlights. Alex's stomach twisted. "Where is this bus going?" he demanded. The hooded man just shook his head. Alex staggered toward the front, gripping the railings as the bus swayed unnaturally. There had to be an emergency stop. He reached for the red cord along the ceiling and pulled. Nothing happened. The bus didn't slow. He slammed his fist against the glass partition where the driver should have been. "Stop the bus." No response. His reflection in the glass looked distorted, stretched unnaturally, like something was wrong with the very air inside the vehicle. The hooded man's voice drifted through the silence. "It doesn't stop, not unless it lets you." Alex turned, his pulse hammering in his ears. "What are you talking about?" The man's hollow eyes met his. "Look outside," he said. Alex hesitated, then slowly turned his head toward the window. At first it was just fog, but then movement. Dark figures stood along the roadside, barely visible through the haze. They weren't walking. They weren't even moving. They were just watching, and their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Alex stumbled back, his heart pounding. What the hell is this? The bus's lights flickered violently, casting brief, disjointed glimpses of those shadowy figures. Each time the light blinked, they seemed closer. The hooded man exhaled shakily. You need to get off before it's too late. Alex's mind raced. The bus had no driver. The emergency stop didn't work. The world outside was twisted, and those figures. He turned back to the man. How? The man's lips pressed into a thin line. You have to find the exit. Alex frowned. What exit? The bus gave a sudden, violent lurch. The lights died for a split second, plunging everything into blackness. And in that darkness, whispers, a chorus of voices layered over each other, speaking in a language he didn't understand. When the lights flickered back, Alex's blood ran cold. The figures were now standing inside the bus, their hollow eyes locked onto him, and they were smiling. Alex's breath hitched as he stumbled backward, pressing himself against the cold metal pole in the middle of the bus. The figures stood motionless, their dark, elongated forms blending into the flickering light. Their faces were featureless, except for those faintly glowing eyes and eerie, twisted smiles. The hooded man remained seated at the back, his gaze locked onto the floor. His hands gripped the edge of his seat, as if bracing himself for something inevitable. Alex's mind screamed for him to move, to do something, anything, but his body refused to obey. Then, as if triggered by his hesitation, the figures took a step closer. The bus gave a violent jolt. The lights flickered again, and in that split second of darkness, Alex swore they moved even nearer. His fight or flight instinct finally kicked in. He spun around and lunged toward the doors, slamming his palms against the cold metal. Open, he shouted, banging with all his strength. The doors didn't budge. The hooded man's voice came low and steady behind him. You won't get out that way. Alex turned, chest heaving. Then how? The man exhaled slowly, shaking his head. You have to find the exit. Alex clenched his fists. That doesn't make sense. The exit is right here. He slammed his hand on the emergency release. Nothing happened. The figures took another step forward, their movements unnervingly synchronized. Alex felt cold sweat trickling down his spine. The exit, the man repeated. It's never in the same place. The bus rattled, the walls seeming to groan as if something was pressing in from the outside. The fog beyond the windows had thickened, swirling unnaturally, shapes forming and dissolving like something was lurking just beyond the glass. Alex's eyes darted around, searching for something, anything, that looked like an escape. Then he saw it. At the far end of the bus, where there should have been nothing but the back wall, a door had appeared. It was slightly ajar, and beyond it, there was only darkness. He pointed. That door wasn't there before. The hooded man finally looked up. His expression was unreadable, but his voice carried something new. Urgency. Then go. Now. Alex didn't need to be told twice. He lunged toward the door, grabbing the handle and yanking it open. A rush of cold air hit him, and for a split second, he hesitated. Where did it lead? But the figures took another step forward, their smiles widening, their hollow eyes unblinking. No time to think. He stepped through. The moment Alex crossed the threshold, the air around him changed. The sounds of the bus vanished. No more rattling wheels, no more flickering lights, only silence. He turned, expecting to see the bus behind him, but it was gone. Instead, he stood in the middle of a dimly lit corridor. The walls were made of something old, almost like aged wood, but the texture was wrong. It seemed to shift subtly under the flickering light, as if it were breathing. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay calm. "Hello," he called out. His voice sounded small, swallowed by the space. No answer. Ahead, the corridor stretched into darkness. The only source of light was a single flickering bulb hanging from the ceiling, its dim glow barely illuminating the immediate area. Alex turned, back again. The door he had stepped through was still there, but something was different. The handle was gone. His stomach twisted. The hooded man's words echoed in his mind. "You have to find the exit." Alex had a sinking feeling that the door he had just used was no longer an option. Taking a deep breath, he moved forward. With each step, the air grew heavier, thicker. The silence wasn't normal. It was oppressive, as if something unseen was pressing in on him from all sides. Then, a sound, a faint whisper. Alex froze. It had come from the darkness ahead. He strained his ears, trying to make out words, but the whisper was too low, too fragmented. It didn't sound like one voice, but many, layered over each other, speaking in unison. He took another step, and the whispering stopped. His pulse pounded in his ears. Then, suddenly, a bang. Loud, sharp, coming from behind him. Alex spun around. The door was gone. Panic surged through him. He rushed forward, his footsteps echoing unnaturally in the confined space. Then, the whispering returned. This time, it was closer. He turned his head slowly. From the shadows, something moved. A shape, tall, thin, its features indistinct, was emerging from the darkness. Alex stumbled back. The shape tilted its head, as if studying him. Then, it took a step forward. Alex didn't wait. He turned and ran. The corridor seemed endless. No doors, no windows, just the same flickering light and the same suffocating silence. His footsteps felt too loud, like they didn't belong in this place. Then, finally, something different. A door, a real door, old, wooden, with a tarnished brass handle. He grabbed it, twisting hard. Locked. His heart pounded. He turned, pressing his back against the door. The figure was still coming. It didn't move quickly. It didn't need to. Alex fumbled at the handle again, desperation making his hands shake. Then he remembered. The exit is never in the same place. He looked around wildly. There had to be something. Then he saw it. Not a door, not an emergency exit, but a window. Except it wasn't a window at all. It was a mirror, a full-length mirror, standing against the wall. And in its reflection, Alex wasn't standing alone. The figure was right behind him, closer than it should have been. He had no choice. Taking a deep breath, Alex did the only thing that made sense. He stepped into the mirror. Alex barely had time to brace himself before he stepped into the mirror. For a split second, the world around him disappeared. No floor beneath his feet, no air in his lungs. just weightless darkness. It felt like falling, but not in any direction he could understand. The silence was absolute, pressing against his ears like thick water. Then, with a sudden jolt, he was somewhere else. He staggered forward, catching himself against a cold surface. His breath came in quick gasps as his eyes adjusted to the dim surroundings. The corridor was gone. Instead, he stood in a vast open space, the floor beneath him smooth and reflective like glass. Above him, there was no ceiling, just an endless black void speckled with the faint shimmering lights, like distant stars. The air was unnervingly still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Alex turned around. The mirror was still there, a tall, freestanding frame standing alone in the emptiness. But his reflection wasn't right. In the glass, he saw himself, but the version staring back at him was different. Pale, motionless. His eyes were slightly too wide, his lips parted just enough to make it seem like he might speak at any moment, but he didn't. A cold wave of unease washed over Alex. Slowly, he raised a hand. His reflection did the same, but there was a delay, a fraction of a second too slow, like something was trying to mimic him, rather than simply reflecting his movements. Then, his reflection smiled. Alex's stomach dropped. He hadn't smiled. Before he could react, a whisper filled the air, soft, layered, like multiple voices speaking at once. Not yet. The mirror rippled, and the reflection faded into darkness. Alex took a shaky step back, his pulse pounding in his ears. He had no idea where he was, but one thing was certain. This place wasn't normal. Cautiously, Alex moved forward. The glass-like floor made no sound beneath his footsteps, and no matter how far he walked, the space around him remained unchanged. There were no walls, no landmarks, just an endless, surreal expanse. Then, ahead of him, something shifted. Figure. At first, it was just a shadow in the distance, but as Alex moved closer, it took shape. A person, standing motionless, facing away from him. He hesitated. "Hello," he called out. No response. He took another step. "Hey, do you know what this place is?" Still nothing. Something about the figure made his skin crawl. Their posture was too still, too rigid. Their arms hung unnaturally at their sides, fingers slightly curled. Swallowing his fear, Alex approached carefully. As he got closer, he realized something was wrong with the person's clothing. It was familiar, too familiar. His breath hitched. The figure was wearing his jacket, and when it finally turned around, it was him. Alex stumbled back, his mind reeling. His own face stared back at him, but the eyes were wrong. Dark, hollow, filled with something unreadable. Then, the other Alex moved, not like a person, like a puppet. Its arms jerked unnaturally as it took a step forward, then another. Its mouth parted slightly, and a whispering voice escaped, not from its lips, but from the space around them. Not yet. Alex turned and ran. His own footsteps echoed unnaturally as he sprinted through the endless space. But no matter how far he ran, he couldn't shake the feeling that the thing behind him wasn't following in a normal way. He didn't dare look back. Then, something appeared ahead. Another mirror. This one was different from the first. Instead of standing alone, it was embedded in what looked like an old wooden door frame. Beyond the glass, he could see something. A street, buildings, light, the real world. His heart pounded with hope. He lunged forward, reaching for the mirror's surface. A hand grabbed his wrist, ice-cold fingers, strong, unyielding. Alex twisted, eyes wide with fear. His own face stared back at him, but this time, the smile was gone. In its place was something worse, recognition, as if it had been waiting for him. The whispering voice returned, closer than ever. Now, the grip tightened. The last thing Alex saw before everything went black was himself. Alex's vision swam as the cold grip tightened around his wrist. It felt unnatural, like fingers made of ice and smoke, solid yet incorporeal. His breath hitched as he struggled, yanking his arm back, but the reflection held on. Its dark eyes locked onto him with eerie intensity. The whispering voice returned, layered and distant. Now, the mirror rippled like water. Alex's heart pounded. If he didn't act now, he had no idea what would happen, what it would do to him. With all his strength, he twisted his body and kicked forward. His foot struck the mirror's surface. Instead of shattering, it gave way, like he was kicking through liquid. The force sent him stumbling through, and suddenly, the cold grip on his wrist was gone. He tumbled forward, hitting the ground hard. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, air, real, fresh air. Alex gasped and pushed himself up, his hands pressing against solid concrete. The scent of rain and asphalt filled his nose, and a cold breeze brushed against his skin. He was outside. Street lights flickered overhead. The city was quiet, almost too quiet, but it was real. He was back. Shakily, he turned to look behind him. The mirror was gone. No frame, no glass, just a plain brick wall of an old building. His pulse still racing, Alex staggered backward. His body felt heavy, exhausted, but his mind was still reeling. What just happened? Had he really escaped? Or was this another trick? Then, in the distance, a familiar sound. A bus engine. Alex's blood ran cold. The headlights appeared first, cutting through the dimly lit street. The bus rolled toward him, slow and steady, its engine humming unnaturally low. For a moment, Alex was frozen in place, his body refusing to move. The memories of what had happened inside that bus, the empty driver's seat, the hooded man, the whispering voices flashed through his mind. Then, the bus stopped. The doors hissed open. The interior was dark, too dark. Alex took a shaky step back. No way, he wasn't getting back on. Then, movement. A figure stepped off the bus. Alex's breath caught in his throat. It was the hooded man. His coat billowed slightly in the night breeze as he stepped onto the sidewalk. Slowly, he turned toward Alex. For the first time, Alex saw his face clearly. Tired eyes, gaunt features, a face that looked like it had seen too much. The man studied Alex for a long moment before speaking. "You made it back." His voice was low, almost surprised. Alex swallowed hard. What was that place? The man exhaled as if searching for the right words. A reflection. Alex frowned. A reflection of what? The man tilted his head slightly. Of what lingers between places, between moments, His gaze darkened, and of those who get caught there, a chill ran through Alex. You mean? He hesitated. There are others. The man's expression didn't change. You're lucky, he said instead. Most don't find their way back. Alex clenched his fists. Then why did I? The man was silent for a long moment. Then he gave a small, almost knowing smile. Because the bus let you. Alex's stomach twisted. What does that mean? The man glanced back at the bus, its dark interior still waiting, the doors still open. Then he looked at Alex. Don't take the late bus again. With that, he turned and stepped back inside. The doors hissed shut behind him. The bus engine rumbled to life, and before Alex could react, it pulled away, disappearing down the empty street. Gone, as if it had never been there. Alex stood frozen for a long moment, his mind racing. Had he really escaped, or had he just been let go? And more importantly, would someone else take the bus next? Alex stood frozen on the sidewalk, his breath shallow, his mind spinning. The bus had disappeared into the distance, the hooded man's warning still echoing in his head. Don't take the late bus again. He wanted to believe it was over, that he was back in the real world, and whatever nightmare he had been trapped in was behind him. But deep down, he knew something was still wrong. The street was eerily quiet, too quiet. No distant cars, no people walking by, no wind rustling through the trees, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Alex took a slow, shaky step forward, his sneakers scuffing against the pavement. The sound was too loud in the silence. His instincts screamed at him to run, to get away from this place. But his body felt heavy, like something unseen was watching, waiting. Then, a flickering light. He turned his head toward a nearby building, convenience store. Its neon sign buzzed weakly, casting a pale glow onto the sidewalk. It was the first sign of life he had seen since stepping out of the mirror. With a deep breath, Alex pushed open the glass door. A soft chime rang out, cutting through the silence. Inside, the store was almost empty. The aisles were lined with neatly stacked shelves, the faint hum of a refrigerator in the background. It was normal, too normal. Alex exhaled, trying to steady himself. Maybe he just needed a moment to clear his head. He approached the counter. A young cashier, a girl with dark hair tied in a ponytail, was leaning on her elbows, scrolling through her phone. She barely glanced up as he approached. "Rough night?" she asked absent-mindedly. Alex hesitated. "You could say that." She nodded, still focused on her screen. "Yeah, the night shift's always weird. People come in looking like they've seen a ghost." Alex forced a shaky laugh. "Something like that." She finally looked up then, her gaze sharpening as she studied him. "You good?" Alex opened his mouth to say yes, but the word caught in his throat, because through the store's large front window, he saw it. The bus. It was parked across the street, waiting. The air in Alex's lungs turned to ice. His hands gripped the counter, his knuckles turning white. "No," he whispered. "No, The cashier frowned. "Dude, you okay?" Alex barely heard her. His eyes were locked on the bus, its dark interior staring back like a gaping mouth. The doors opened. A figure stepped out. Alex's stomach twisted. It was him, not just someone who looked like him. Him, same clothes, same face, except the other Alex's eyes were wrong, hollow, empty, and then it smiled, a slow, unnatural curl of the lips. Alex staggered back, knocking over a display of candy bars. The cashier jumped. "Whoa, what's wrong?" Alex's heart pounded as he pointed toward the window. "Do you see that? The bus?" He stopped, because the street outside was empty. No bus, no other Alex, nothing. The cashier raised an eyebrow. "See what?" Alex's mouth went dry. Had he imagined it? No. He had seen it. He knew what he saw. But now, it was gone. And somehow, that was even worse. The cashier leaned on the counter again. "Maybe you need some water, dude. You don't look so good." Alex barely heard her. His body felt numb, his mind spinning. Then, a soft chime rang through the store, the sound of the glass door opening. Alex turned slowly, and there, standing at the entrance, was himself, his reflection, his double. The other Alex stood motionless in the doorway, his hollow eyes fixed on him. The store lights flickered. The cashier didn't react, didn't move, didn't seem to see it. Alex's pulse pounded in his ears. The other Alex took a step forward and whispered, "Time to go." Alex ran. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He bolted out of the store, shoving past the figure in the doorway. The second his feet hit the sidewalk, the world around him shifted. The street stretched, warping unnaturally. The street lights flickered wildly, casting twisted shadows on the pavement. And ahead, the bus was back, waiting, the doors open. The hooded man stood beside it, his gaze unreadable. "You should hurry," he said calmly. Alex shook his head frantically. No, I'm not getting on." The man sighed. "You don't have a choice." Alex whirled around. His reflection was right behind him, closer than before, reaching for him. Alex's breath caught in his throat. The hooded man's voice was low. "Decide now." Alex's mind raced. He could run, but where? There was nowhere left to go. The other Alex moved. Alex made his choice. He lunged, not toward the bus, but toward the mirror. The glass surface rippled, pulling him in. For a moment, he was falling again. Then, silence. When Alex opened his eyes, he was on a sidewalk, a normal sidewalk. The city was alive again, cars passing, people walking by. The convenience store was gone. The bus was gone. Everything was normal. Alex's hands shook. He turned, searching for something. Anything that proved what had happened was real. And then he saw it. A bus stop. A schedule pinned to the side. His eyes locked onto one line. Route 13, 3:00 a.m. bus, out of service. His blood turned to ice. His reflection in the glass watched him. But this time, it didn't move.